Welcome to the Bird Joy Podcast. I'm Dexter Patterson.
And I'm Jason Hall. This is the podcast for all the bird nerds and the homies out there that want to find a little bird joy.
Yes. Are you ready for some bird joy? Because we have a heavy dose of it for you all today. And we actually have our final guest of season 2 of the podcast joining us from British Columbia. Let's go. Melissa Hafting, welcome to the Bird Joy Podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Dexter. Thank you so much for having me. And hi, Jason. I'm doing really good, and I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know Melissa is not only an ecologist, she's a bird guide, she's an amazing photographer. She's the founder of the BC Young Birders program, which gets youth of all walks of life outside to find joy and community. And that on-ramp for that is birds. And the program also helps to teach youth about citizen science and the importance of bird conservation. As a Black woman, Melissa is also passionate about making birding more inclusive and welcoming for all. She's speaking our language, you already know, especially for BIPOC birders like herself. She has embedded herself within the BC birding community by serving as an eBird reviewer. Oh, we're going to have to talk about that. And managing one of the most exciting birding forums in North America, the BC Rare Bird Alert. I can't even imagine the type of bird. Well, I can because I see your photos. The type of birds that you're able to get. Melissa sits on the board of directors for the Frontiers in Ornithology Association, which educates and inspires youth to take their passion for birds to a higher level, literally by encouraging opportunities in ornithology, conservation science, and related academic and professional pursuits. She was also a judge for the 2022 and 2023 Audubon Photography Awards, recipient of the BC Nature's 2021 Daphne Selecki Award for contributing to nature education for children in British Columbia, a finalist for the 2021 Nature Inspiration Awards for the Canadian Museum of Nature, and led the 2022 CBC TV documentary Rare Bird Alert. Most notably, however, yes, it keeps going. This is a true superstar, folks. Melissa is the author of an incredible book, Dare to Bird, exploring the joy, keyword joy, and healing power of birds. This book is visually stunning. Like, I haven't seen anything like it, with every page turn. And as you get to the text, you start to find yourself navigating the photos through the text and the adjoining pages. The chapters and experiences, they include bird travel. They include birding with a dog and doing ocean pelagics. Oh, my stomach hurting already. And there are also chapters that ask us to look a bit deeper as we reflect on topics like grief, hope, friendship, and the healing power of birding in solitude. If you need more inspiration, please go check out her book and you'll get a taste of her photography right away. Huge online presence there at BC Birder Girl. Melissa, welcome to the Bird Joy Podcast.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so touched by that. That really meant.
I'm pumped up just saying all that stuff. Like, holy cow. We are truly in the presence of greatness today, aren't we, Jason?
We really are. We really are. And I enjoy, as we go out and get, we just kind of, people will send us bios and stuff, but we'll also go and we'll look and I listen to other podcasts you're on, I read articles, and we try to put together an intro that is fitting the guest. And you have done so many amazing things, and it's just been such a lovely, joyful, meaningful influencer in our community from the jump. You're doing so much. You're doing a lot. You're continuing to move through life in a way that is probably a struggle sometimes. And so how are you doing right now in terms of your recent birding experiences and what things are keeping you going and keeping you energized, and what things recently have been giving you those little slivers or big slivers of bird joy?
Well, thank you so much, Jason. But yes, getting out and being in nature and looking at birds just really lifts me up. As I said in the book, I've lost both my parents, and through that grief, it's really helped me to get out there and bird for distraction, for just thinking about grief while I'm out birding. It just brings me so much joy. Working with the children brings me joy. joy, getting out there, showing them birds, seeing the joy on their faces, seeing how much they want to protect the wildlife as well and their habitats. And a lot of them who have gone through the program, because I started this in 2014, are now biologists themselves or working to protect the environment in their own ways and really passionate about it still into adulthood. And that means a lot to me. And in the beginning, it has been a struggle, being a Black person, as you probably know as well. It's not always welcoming out there in this hobby, but birds are for all of us, and they don't judge us, and they make us feel safe watching them, but it's the people that have been the problem sometimes. There's been a lot of barriers that we have to go through that other people don't have to go through. And it's been difficult. It's been rewarding in the end to see, more people of color in this hobby, especially in the youth coming up. And that's positive. Being on, you said I was on a board and stuff like that. And those weren't, you didn't see any Black people on boards when I first started. And now, now it's really changing. Still mostly male, white dominated. You are seeing different people on boards, more women too. And that's a good thing. I actually just got appointed to the checklist committee for the ABA, which they've never had a Black person on. They never had a Black person on, so they said that's that's a big deal. It's inspiring to see that there's people. Oh, thank you. It's all people.
I love it. And you mentioned prayers and thoughts to you. I know, you mentioned losing your parents. Your dad was the more recent, and I remember reading some of your posts, and my heart was breaking. I do love when we talked about this with Tama Watts, is even in those moments sometimes in life when we are, heartbroken and we are in grief and we are sad, those brief respites when we're with the birds help us get through that. And we talk about that with our listeners, and we want people to understand that in all moments of your lives, the birds can be there for you. Nature will be there for you when you need a pick me up, when you need to just go touch grass or hug a tree or whatever it may be, to bring you up, to lift you up in those moments. And I just thank you for talking about that. And thank you for centering that message about even in times of grief, as you were living through that, right? And you're real in that moment, living that, but sharing that with other people. And I just want to say thank you for that, because there are a lot of people that think they need to suffer alone, and you don't. There are a lot of people that are going through similar things. And I think that's what I love about the birding community. I find so much inspiration from even folks that I don't even happen to be able to go on the trail with, but they're just sharing their stories and their passion and their life and the ways that they're getting through things with us. And I just really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say thank you, because on this podcast, we like talking about that, because we're all human beings and we're all have those moments in our lives when we just need a little bit more. And birds are typically a nice elixir, I will say, in those moments. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. It's true, though, that grief is a taboo topic. Even in this modern day and age, people don't want to talk about it. They kind of want to just tell you to get over it and just be grateful for what you have. But it is a real thing that people go through, especially when you lose someone you love. There's also anxiety, depression. There's all these things that happen to you. Even just regular people who haven't had a major loss, they still have maybe suffering depression. And I still find that mental health and grief, depression, everything is not wanting to be really talked about in the open. And I wanted to talk about it in my book because it's something we all have to unfortunately go through. And the birds are there for us when we are going through these really traumatic events in our life, and they do bring joy and they do help people cope with these things. Like, I didn't even want to get out of bed. I didn't even know if I wanted to live anymore. And that's the truth. Birds, they help me to keep going. And so that's why I'm so grateful for them and thankful for them. And I wanted to share that message about how birding can really help us in these really terrible times in our life.
Yeah, you certainly did share it in the book, and it's evident kind of from the first pages, whether it's through the introduction or just some of the background and history on your growth as a birder. Everything is connected back to your mom or your dad, and we're gonna get into that too, because there's some really cool themes within the book that I think we're gonna want to talk about outside of the amazing photography. One of the things that people know you most for is the BC Young Birders program. And I encourage folks, just go Google it, YouTube it. There's some cool clips and some little documentaries and stuff that are really, really special. You were doing so much, just in your career as an ecologist and, you know, in your book, you're talking about 5 years old out there with your pop, right? And, you know, getting into it, right? And we've heard that story. We just, you know, the podcast with Alex Troutman, he's out catching water lizards, right? And you're out there with your dad, right? And it's just a great, it's a, you know, everybody has a childhood, right? And we all have different childhoods with different experiences. This common theme of being supported in your bird joy at such a young age. Can you tell us about some of those more pivotal moments as a child? Maybe some of the most joyful memories you think of as a young birder. Like, what was that like? Take us back in the time machine. 5-6-year-old Melissa out in the yard. What's going down?
Yeah. So my dad was the one that really got me into birding. He bought me my first little field guide, and he took me out to this bird sanctuary we have here called Reifel Bird Sanctuary. And it's a place that's just full of all these different birds. You can feed them there and everything. And he's the first person that taught me how to feed like black-capped chickadees. And when it came on my hand, I was just like hooked. And that was my spark. That was my spark bird.
The chickadee was the spark bird? Yay!
It was, yes. Black-capped chickadee. And it was so cute and everything. And then after that, every bird that I saw, I would tick off in the field guide and I want to see more and more of them. And he just took me out and got looking at birds. I was with him for my first pileated woodpecker, which was just amazing to me to see this huge woodpecker with the red crest. My first hummingbird was a Rufus hummingbird with him, and seeing this little orange like jewel, and that support that he gave me, I became a much more hardcore birder than he was. He was more like a general naturalist, but that support of just supporting me in what I loved, being like interested in like what I wanted to see and the birds that I wanted to talk about was just really important. And I think that mentoring children like that is important because they're going to grow up to be the future stewards of this planet. And they're also, it's just really nice and rewarding to support them in what they love. And he was that for me. He would, you know, as I got older, we would watch the snow geese together coming in in winter where they come here to overwinter. There's huge thousands of flocks of them. And that was something we did together. So in the end, I surpassed him about my degree of level of hardcore birding. It was just that support that really gave me the foundation to want to be in this hobby, you know? And he
nurtured that bird nerd in you early.
He did.
I love that. I love that. And you can see how impactful that was for you, right? And when you think about it, as you're continuing to go through your grieving process, I hope it's those memories, right, with your dad from all these years that you hold on to and realize when you're out in the field, he's still with you, right? Yeah. He's still with you because he nurtured that love for birds in you early on, and that's what's keeping you going. So just every time you continue to get that bird joy, just be like, thank you, Pops. Thank you, Pops. Yeah. I really appreciate that because we talk about how those moments in birding, how I can tell people like when I get a lifer, I can remember where it was. I remember the tree, where I was. Sometimes like how it felt, right? Like in that moment, like it literally like transports me back there to those memories. And those are some of the most beautiful memories in my life. And I hope that you're finding that bird joy in all of those beautiful memories you had with your pops.
Oh, I am. And just like I remember so many joyful moments, like feeding Canada jays together and them on our heads and just like all that joy and how he was really good about, he's the one that taught me how to protect the environment, to make sure I don't leave any garbage where we were camping or anything like that. He taught me about the importance of protecting it for the future. And that's something that really has stayed with me since a young age. Yeah, you're right. I'm so grateful for that. And I do think both my parents are with me when I'm birding, and that's comforting.
That's beautiful.
That's fantastic. I recently lost my grandmother in November, and she was my birding person in the family, and it was really hard. It's still really hard. But one of the things I'm most excited to do is go. She lived in Idaho, and that's where her grave is. And I'm excited the next time I go out there with my fam, just to sit by her tombstone and make a little checklist and talk to her, you know, and just see there's a little duck pond down below, and we're looking at these big mountains, and it's you know, when I was out there for the services, it was a lot of me walking around outside and just talking to her and seeing things that she loved. She had nesting eagles on her property, and she would always text me or send me messages, you know, in the middle of the nesting season. So I feel everything everything that you're saying. It matters and it makes a difference. And I love how you're channeling all of this into that spark that your parents nurtured for you, that you literally like giving this to all these other children, young folks, you know, across BC. And like, that is just such a beautiful piece there, right? You know, you describe yourself as a mentor to many of the new birders and birders that come through your program. And other than your dad, did you have other folks along the way that kind of nurtured your love for this as you got maybe into adolescent, teenage years, college years? Like, did you have these little pockets along the way? And did you learn anything in particular from those folks?
First of all, I want to say sorry for your loss. I'm really sorry about your grandma. And I was just going to say that
Thank you.
When you were at the grave and you're doing a little checklist, I actually do that. I go visit my parents once a week and I go and make a list of all the birds at the cemetery. And there is a lot of birds that come in the cemetery. So it will be comforting for you. No, I didn't have any other one for a mentor. And I found that is one of the main reasons why I started the program, because I didn't feel very welcome in the birding community. I didn't have anyone that was mentoring me as a young person other than my dad, who taught me about birds and stuff. So I thought it was really important to get these kids together and help them feel welcome, to talk to them on their level, to take them out in nature, because I didn't have anybody who really made me feel welcome in the community at all. I thought that was important, and they seemed really keen on it, and they all wanted to be part of it. So it worked out really good. That's one of the main reasons why I started that program.
Love it. She's paying it forward, you know, and Jay, we've talked about this, like whether it's your little homie, speaking of bald eagles, your little homie from the birding club. And I talk about Roman.
Andre,
Bro, Andre, yes. Andre, Roman. Yesterday it was Chase, and Chase, little brown boy. His mom was black woman. His dad was Asian, and he's probably about eight or nine, I would guess, based off all my, interaction with my 4 children. But Chase's favorite bird was the chickadee. And he told me, he said he could do chickadee for 17 seconds. I said, do you want to have a chickadee off? It was so funny. I was like, come on, I'm ready, Chase. You want this smoke? He ain't want no smoke, bro. Chase didn't want no smoke. I said, I think I could beat 17 seconds. So we just literally nerded out over chickadee. Oh, it was my favorite moment of the entire event. It was incredible. But we've talked about this, Jay, that youth, that joy from those kids when we're leading walks for our clubs, that joy hits different. It just hits different. It's a specific kind of joy. And Melissa, talk to us about watching the young birders explore the natural world up there in British Columbia. How's that feeding your joy and your purpose?
Oh, it just gives me all my joy. Like it's inspiring. It's beautiful to see. It makes me feel good. I just feel like I'm helping the world be a better place in the way that the kids are going to make sure that the world's a better place. Like it's a very difficult world right now, and you see all these terrible things on the news, but these kids give me hope that things will be okay, because they're going to be there. They want to protect the planet. They're really passionate. The questions they ask, they're not just trying to get Instagram likes or whatever for their pictures. They actually care about the birds. They're asking questions. They're becoming biologists and ecologists, and it's really inspiring to see. So they do give me hope. They give me joy, when I'm out there and they're just so happy. You can't feel sad when you're just seeing these kids be so happy about the birds they're seeing and their lifers they're getting. And even for the common birds, they're happy to see, it's a beautiful thing, really. Gives me a lot of purpose. It gives me a purpose in my life too.
Yeah, and it's Dex and I were just talking before you joined. He had an event he was talking about at the Milwaukee Zoo yesterday, and he was like, "My cup is full. My bird joy cup is full. It got filled up yesterday, right? I need to go get mine filled up." And honestly, talking to you two, it's filling mine up quite a bit. And it's funny how the innocence of children and young folks, right, as you watch them navigate this world, and I don't know what it is, like metaphysically, like watching a young person get excited about, let's say, finally seeing a bird. Or you know what the best juice is? Yeah. A kid that's never used binoculars. And when they finally get it in focus and they see the intimacy of the bird, and they just like look up at you like, what is this world? you know, like it gives me like goosebumps. I'm like, come on, man. Like this, like somebody paid me a lot of money just to do this for a living. I will, you know, like this will like be my job. Like if I could just have enough to survive, like I'm good, you know? And it's just so innocent and so pure. And like when you're putting together these excursions, these trips for these young folks, like how are you designing that? Are you guys staying pretty local? Are you taking trips all over the province? Like how do you kind of decide where you're going to go, what you're going to look at?
Oh, I take them all over the province. I do overnight trips. I do pelagics like Dexter was talking about, where we go on these long boat tours off of Tofino to see like albatross and things like that. That's not, you know, every week or anything, but, you know, I try to do a couple trips a year that are out of the city and doing these overnight trips. They're a lot more work, but they're really rewarding. You know, they get to see birds that they don't see in their hometowns, you know, and so, you know, when they get, I took them to see like a flammulated owl, which you would never see in Vancouver. And they were so like, the joy for that was amazing. And when we tried so many times hiking up in the mountains here to find white-tailed ptarmigan. It was a huge target for the kids. And when we finally found it, I talk about that in the book. It was just like, out of this world special. So, you know, I take them all over the province. Yeah.
And you got people coming, you said, not in their hometown. So you're reaching youth in multiple areas then.
Yes, I am.
That's
Vancouver
incredible.
Island, Vancouver, the interior. Like, so yeah, even the Kootenays, which is really far. We have a kid that comes further sometimes. So yeah, it's nice to see that there's so many kids that want to be part of it.
You are that mentor for all these beautiful young folks in BC.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I would encourage folks listening, like you want to start something like this, start it, you know, trust me, the dividends will come in the smiles that you see as young folks get a chance to experience stuff. And this, you know, Melissa, you're just another fantastic example of taking action to do that thing for your community and it immediately showing benefit to yourself and to others. And I just want to encourage folks, if you got it in your mind and you got it on your heart, go do it. The three of us here are good examples of that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it truly is. It's priceless, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I was surprised that no one had started one in Vancouver because it's a big city, you know, and there was all these kids birding alone. And I saw them all and I was just like, hey, we need to get these guys together and go, because it really does make a difference when the kids can share that love with other kids their age. That's really important. And a lot of them and a lot of them have still lifelong friends now. The ones that graduated from 2014 program, they're still friends. They still go on trips together. So it makes lasting friendship.
You're like the Batman of Vancouver. You like put up the birding bat signal. Right. And everybody was like, we shall congregate. You know, they knew what time it was, you know, which is beautiful.
Speaking of beautiful, let's talk a little bit about these photos. I mean, not the photos on your Instagram, but the photos on the Instagram, go check them out. But the photos in your book are incredible. They're so intimate. And when I think about experienced photographers know that getting these type of photos usually takes a little bit of patience, a whole lot of skill, a lot of muscle memory and time on the job. But that time to pursue birds for photography specifically is a little bit different than viewing them in the binoculars. Can you talk about or describe one of those memorable pursuits of a specific bird photo that ended up in your book?
I guess I'll talk about the spotted owl, because that's that was very hard to get. That was taken in Washington, and I have photos in the book of the endangered spotted owl. There's very few of them left. In British Columbia, we only have one wild bird left. And seeing that was pretty magical. And like you said, it takes a lot of patience, especially with owl photography, and to be ethical, of course, you know, to not to just stand in one spot and just wait for the bird to come to you. It's not easy and it takes a long time, but it's worth it. The reward is worth it when you get to see that magical encounter when like a spotted owl flies in and you can take that photograph and it works out. That's a really important memory in the book for me, because those birds are no longer there, which is very sad. So I'm glad that I've captured them there, because I've gone back to the spot and they're no longer there. So, and barred owls are now in there. It's sad to see, but it's a special memory for me. And a lot of those photos in the book, they were for many years of photographing around, and I'm really glad you like it, because it was a lot of work to achieve. So thank you.
Please go get that book, y'all. Go get that book.
those photos, tremendous.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
See, we love doing that. We love doing that.
Like, and we've talked about this species, with the barred owl displacement, the forestry stuff that's happening, that's not great, the logging. And it's just to see this, just like really intimacy is the key word. And like, I look at these pictures and when you get the book, you'll turn like 8 different pages and there'll just be amazing photography on each of these pages. And then you'll turn the page and there'll be some text that you can read and contextualize with it. And then you'll read that, you'll feel that. And then you turn the page and boom, you got like this spotted owl staring you in the face. And it's the colors are so rich. So like I really, tell folks, I've heard people describe it as a coffee table book with substance. Yeah. And that's really what it is, right? It's like you think you're just going to be looking at really amazing pictures, but there's also text to help you reflect on those pictures and the stories behind them and the people behind them. Thank you for putting that together that way.
Thank you. I tried to put the pictures along with the text so that you can feel what I'm feeling when I'm trying to write about. So I'm glad that I want the images to move people. So I'm glad that you felt that as well.
Yeah, I certainly did. And, we talked with Tama about her kind of daily traditions and anchoring herself and in her book, it's her kitchen window. Do you have a space like that or a tradition or you can even call it a superstition, right? Things that you do to just say, hey, I am in birding mode now. I am in finding peace in nature mode now. Like, is there a place or a bird song or sound or something that gets you in that spot?
Well, I love going by the ocean and sitting by the ocean and watching the birds, shorebirds just go in murmurations. That's really grounding for me. And we do have a beautiful place here called Boundary Bay where there's just thousands and thousands of dunlin and western sandpipers that come through, and seeing them in their, murmurating flight is it's really peaceful and grounding for me. And being by the ocean, hearing the sounds is really beautiful. So I love shorebirding for that reason.
That's crazy. So I think I can't imagine. Yeah, y'all get crazy amounts of shorebirds, right?
Yes, crazy amounts
because they're nesting up there. Right? So I'm like, we get excited. We might get a group of like 20, and we're going crazy or something, or some shorebirds flying or something. Talk to us a little bit. So like here in Wisconsin, maybe it's the same for you, Jay. Like birding is literally like we're all about migration, and like that's kind of like those are like where a lot of people get most excited, right? In fall and in spring, and then obviously in between, as club leaders are working to show people that it's 12 months a year. Like there's always something to see. How is birding in your neck of the woods? Is it migration fueled? What's the day in the life of a birder in freaking British Columbia? Like, I just want to know how it is,
Oh yeah. Here it's pretty mild. So in Vancouver anyway, so people are birding all year round, and there's lots of good wintering birding here because we have like lots of owls and raptors, deer falcon, everything that comes here to winter. So that's really beautiful to see. But again, for us too, it's like spring migration is like the peak where people are out there looking for different warblers and what new bird can come in. That's what people love the most. And then shorebird migration in the summer, when all the shorebirds come through is really special to see as well. So those are really big movements here. We're lucky here that, people bird all year round and that there's good birding all year round. We do get lots and lots of rain. Yeah. It's good in all seasons here. So I'm like you. Yeah. Get out 12 months a year.
Oh, I love some good winter birding, but I feel like it's different. It's different where you are though. Like over here, we're like just cold for no reason, just hateful cold for no reason. There's no shorebirds other than some sanderlings out by the beach. And it's whether it's your interact on Instagram or what you're seeing. I think we follow the Special Bird Service as well. I think they're also in British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they be posting shorebirds in the middle of December. I'm like, what is this world? Because like I don't have no shorebirds. Like what's going on? And I remember hearing I think it was Alvaro Jaramillo saying that on the East Coast you can get maybe a little bit more diversity of birds, but on the West Coast you get these just insane numbers, like just massive flocks, and just where you can really witness migration. And so like how do you decide like when springtime rolls around, I would have I'd be like, where do I go first? Like I'd probably be like analysis paralysis by analysis, right? Like I'd be like I wouldn't know where to go first. Like, do you have a spot that like right now you're like, hey, once March 15th rolls around, you're gonna find me over there, like a particular hot spot that you love?
Yeah, it's really tough, but usually Boundary Bay, like I was there yesterday looking at like shorebirds. I was looking at red knot and, Dunlin.
It's January.
And yeah.
My first red knot was with y'all down in Little St. Simon's Island, Jay, remember?
Yeah, we had to go to Georgia to get red knots. You just got them up there and then...
They're just hanging out in the winter.
Oh yeah, the winter. There's short-billed dowitcher, which is really rare for us in winter. Lesser yellowlegs. I was looking at tons of different shorebirds. Willet, curlew. It was crazy. Whimbrel yesterday, and so
all these bird sounds I'm gonna be editing on this episode is gonna be fantastic.
Avocet. It was, and it's January. Even for us, that's
man, I'm so jealous. I mean, I'm sure climate change is impacting things out there the same way it is here, right? And that's certainly a concern for sure, as a lot of these species move further north in months that they wouldn't typically. And I wonder, like with your youth groups, as you all go out, right? Is that something you guys are observing or talking about regularly, like the impacts? You've been doing it for over 10 years now. Like, are they noticing shifts even in their own experience over 10 years?
Even in their own experience, in a few years we've been doing it, we've seen like swallows have really declined. There used to be so much more swallows on our field trips where we would go and see in the interior and see black terns. They're no longer there. So things, because the water level's too high. So like climate change is really impacting these birds. You're seeing like, since I was a kid, there's compared to how many swallows there was around when I was a kid, there's hardly any in comparison. And it's really, really sad to see. So you are seeing different things. Like you said, we're seeing shorebirds here that we normally would not see. We do get lots of shorebirds, but not normally those ones in winter. And we're seeing species that you don't normally see in winter here, which is really, it's kind of alarming, And you're seeing things like rough-legged hawks. That was one thing we were talking about with the kids just recently. Rough-legged hawks, you used to go out and see like 20 or 30 of them. Now you can barely see one a year. So things like that are really, really changing. Things are not going good in the Arctic. Other birds are being pushed up north, like you said, and it's alarming.
We were seeing that like with the limpkins, the hot limpkin summer. Y'all remember that?
I think it's, I think they whisper that it's still ongoing.
Yeah, like all these birds. I remember, a decade ago, we would never see American white pelicans in Wisconsin, really. They nest here now, like all over the state. It's so weird. So we are seeing these birds moving north, looking for habitat, looking for food. Climate change is changing some of these locations to where they are able to survive and find food. And it is kind of weird. And it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had.
Yep. That must make life very busy for you, running the rare bird alert for BC, right? Like,
it really does.
That's got to be, you're going to have to get an assistant.
Yeah, it's so busy. I really do need an assistant. Like, it's crazy how many things have been showing up recently. Like, it's ongoing, like so much. Right now in the state, in the province, we have whooper swan and brambling, and what else? We have green-tailed towhee.
Yeah.
Like we never used to get so many green-tailed towhees, and we had 3 in the last year. So you could see things are changing. So, yeah.
The whooper swan. That's a cool one too.
Yeah, very cool.
Do you have a bird or a list of birds that you haven't seen in your area that you hope to photograph or see next? What's on your lifer list?
Oh, there's lots of birds I haven't seen. I would love to see like a citrine wagtail that I've missed 2 in the province, and they're really mega rare. I would love to see one of those in BC. There's a long list of things I would love to see. I still have lots of birds I still need to see.
But we're always learning. You'll never see them all. No. Like that's the beauty of freaking birding, in my opinion, is like this never-ending cycle of learning and joy and exploration. And it's fascinating, Like it makes amazing. Life exciting. Like I have no clue what I'm about to see. Maybe I see nothing. Maybe maybe I see something new. Like you never know. That is the beauty of it. It's like today I might go out and find something amazing. Wisconsin's first record of the white wagtail that's been hanging out in Sturgeon Bay. Rita went and got it. Rita went and got it, Jay.
I'm sure she did. Yeah.
And one bird I really, really want to see is a Ross's gull. I would love to see that. I would love to see a Ross's gull.
Now you're talking my language. Yeah. Now you're talking my language. Let's go. Yeah. Because like that's one. And I was looking at one of in the book, you have a picture of an ivory gull that you went to. Gull. I think it was Montana.
Yeah.
Was it Montana?
Right.
You drove to, right? Like, and I saw that and I was like, oh man. let me find out an ivory gull is within a 10-hour drive of me. I'm out. Cough, cough. I'm sick. I'm out of work today. I need to go. A Ross's gull would be, I mean, you'd have to go pretty far north to see one on their range. But if one came down, right, that would be, you're going to have to text a brother if you hear about that. Because that would be awesome. And like the citrine wagtail, I'm actually taking a trip to India in a couple of weeks. And that's one of the ones I've been studying in just for the waterways, because it's in the part of India that I'm going to be in. So don't be jealous, but I'm going to go see it. It won't
living vicariously through you. You're going to have to go live or something. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. I think a citrine wagtail showing up in BC would be a bigger deal than me going to see them where they actually live.
Yeah, I've seen them in Thailand.
Yeah, I've never
seeing them in their natural habitat is pretty special too.
Because birding, and Dexter, and you kind of mentioned this, like, I don't know, like, other than other naturalist type hobbies, I don't know other things where you can say for the rest of my life, outside of being the homie that already saw 10,000 species of birds, for the rest of my life, I have something to look forward to or plan for or dream about, right? When it comes to my exploration of like, and birding has that. And it's so palpable right now, where just the thought of, hey, I wonder if in a couple years I can take a flight over to British Columbia and spend like a long weekend birding with the homies out there. That thought, just the thought by itself, makes me so happy and pulls joy into my body. It gives me something to work towards, to look forward to be excited about. And I just don't know many other things that do that and actually create community around it. And so like, that's something I don't think enough people talk about with birding, is that it's just this fully anticipatory activity where just the thought of it can make you happy. I love that. I'm now going to do my dance for the bird rain gods and get you a citrine wagtail. I'm going to try to get that going for you. I'll make some small sacrifices of some marshmallows over a campfire tonight. And we will try to make that happen. It's a beautiful bird, folks. If you want to look it up, it's got some yellow in it, so it looks different than the white wagtail. It's a good bird. eBird reviewer. Like, let's talk about that life, because I think you're the first eBird reviewer we've had on, and you're doing it for a space that is quite large, I imagine, quite diverse in terms of the type of birds, and I'm guessing in the type of people. What do you want the world to know about eBird reviewers today? Because I feel like they get a bad rap sometimes, and they are all volunteers. And so, like, speak to the people, right? Let them know, like, hey, calm your nerves, right? Relax. When you get the eBird email, like, let them know.
Yeah. Well, I can understand why people get frustrated, because they feel like you're maybe thinking they're a liar or you're attacking them in some way, but you're not. You're just trying to make sure the data set is correct, because it's scientific data that scientists will use. And we are volunteers, and sometimes people are not always respectful when you send them an inquiry about, could you please provide more information, like a detailed description, or especially if it's a provincial rarity or a photo or something like that. I think on the most people are okay, pretty good, and are grateful for your eBird. A lot of people do thank you for being an eBird reviewer, because I think they know that it's not always easy, and you do have to put up with some people who cannot be very, very nice at times, because people take it personally, unfortunately, when you have to make a correction. I've been doing it so much years, it's just kind of like water off my back now.
Water off the back?
Yeah, water off the back. I'm used to it all. I've heard it all.
I love it. I love that you mentioned it is about protecting that data, though. That citizen science component. It is volunteer work. And folks, it is not personal. It's not personal. So, Melissa, if new birders are coming up to your neck of the woods, they're coming to BC, and you have one day to take them somewhere, where would you take them?
Whew, that's tough. Wow,
we ask the hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah.
Because if we pull up, guess what first place we going to is going to be?
Well, I'd probably take them to Victoria, actually, to see, because they would see a lot of the seabirds that are West Coast specialties that are harder to see in large numbers in Vancouver. So I'd probably take them there. I'd also take them to Reifel Bird Sanctuary in Vancouver, because you can see things like saw-whet owls up close, especially in winter, which is really special, and short-eared owls flying along the marsh. In Victoria, like at Cattle Point, you can see things like surfbirds and rhinoceros auklets and huge numbers of ancient murrelets and marbled murrelets and black turnstones and things like that. And sometimes, if you're lucky, tufted puffins. So those would be something special to see for people. And in the summer, you can see Heermann's gulls there. And those are the two places I'd probably take them first because, pigeon guillemots are really a West Coast specialty for people to see. And that would be nice to show them there. But yeah.
Folks going to be doing a lot of Googling, ain't they, Jay?
Seriously, I'm about to throw my headphones off. Like, I'm so upset. Like, as soon as you said surfbird and rhinoceros auklets, I was like, come on, man. Come on. Yeah, are you still doing tours for Avocet?
I am. Yeah, I'm actually leading. My next tour is in May, going to Point Pelee and then Newfoundland later after that in the summer. So, yeah.
All right, folks, you heard it. You heard it. Yeah.
Yes,
Avocet
we do.
Tours.
We definitely need to come visit. We definitely need. There's a lot of homies up there that we're hoping to see. And Jay mentioned some of the others up there too. Have y'all collaborated yet? The Special Bird Service?
Not yet. We haven't. They're in Vancouver Island. They do the adult stuff. I'm going to lead some bird walks for them too. I told them I can do that. So
yes, we love it. The homies are connected.
Like, we love this. Like, it's so special. Like, because I think a lot of us, because of this, if you think about the historic birding community, I don't know that there was much need for, let's say, specifically white men to be connecting online and then connect in person later on down the line, right? They're really, because that was just the ethos. It was just a big white guy activity, to say it plainly. But now you find Black and brown folks, we're connecting online and then we're actually meeting each other in person and we're doing stuff. Women are just out there. Like, I've seen just such a spike in women-led touring companies and tours. And it is just, it's really, 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 really special. And I think that's another thing that we can all look forward to, is like creating community by connecting with each other, right? Podcasts, Instagram, whatever. And, looking forward to that, trying to figure out how to make space for one another. And so, last question, sorry. There is a lot going on. There is obviously the continuing work that you do with the young birders, the rare bird alert, all the things you have to do to keep your life going. Not that we have to be doing something new all the time, but is there anything new on the horizon or anything you want to let folks know about, or even just like, hey, 2025 is the year I'm going to go find that citrine wagtail? Like, is there anything folks should be knowing about, right?
I did tell you that I'm starting in January on the checklist committee for the ABA, which is another thing to...
but y'all got some work ahead of you, because... Yeah.
There's new birds in the ABA all the time that are coming up. So that will be interesting to learn about all the different birds that are being seen across North America and voting on that. That'll be interesting. That's exciting. And I'm hoping to work on a second book soon. So a lot on the plate too. So, I'm having ideas coming up about that, and just working with the youth and trying to get out there and look at birds and help the kids get happy and joy like you guys do as well. Yeah, that's what I have on the horizon.
Melissa, this has been beyond amazing, this conversation. Thank you for giving our listeners that experience of being able to spend some time with you today and listen to how you see the world of birding and all the amazing work that you're doing to spread that bird joy. And it really does start at cultivating that bird joy in the youth. So thank you so much for that, because I wish I had a person like you growing up, a person like Al. Like, we've talked about this, and you are a prime example of living with that wildlife mirror that Al was talking about last week. Where can folks find you if they want to stay connected? We mentioned the Instagram, the BC Birder Girl. Would that be a good place for them to connect? Yeah,
my Instagram. And then also I have a blog called Dare to Bird. You can just Google that, daretobird.blogspot.com. And that's where I write about my travels and my trip reports with the youth. If they want to learn more about the BC Young Birders program, I have a website called bcyoungbirders.ca, and that has all our trips and our events and stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be great. Love it. We will link all of those in the show notes. Thank you so much for this conversation. Seriously. Thank you, Dexter and Jason. It was wonderful. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today on the Bird Joy podcast. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of birding with us and Melissa today. Shout out to the homies in the BIPOC Birding Club. We are still doing our thing all winter, as as y'all know, BIPOCbirdingclub.org.
Yes. And thanks to you all for listening, and shout out to the homies in Philly and colorbirding.org. Although I feel like now everyone's going to be asking me when we're taking a trip to British Columbia.
Yeah,
so maybe we can figure that out. If there's any sponsors listening, let us know.
Anybody want to drop a grand on us so we can go
that'd be nice.
members to BC? That'd be pretty dope. And also be kind of dope if you would share, subscribe, and shout out this podcast to all your fellow birders and help us spread a little bird joy.